Today, we're diving into a huge new topic in cybersecurity. It's a world where AI isn't just the thing you're trying to protect, it's also the attacker. The bad guys are already using artificial intelligence, and our defenses, well, they need to catch up, and fast. So let me just start with a question that, sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's becoming our reality. What happens when the next attack on your systems doesn't come from a person at a keyboard, but from another AI? One that's way faster, way more creative, and just more relentless than any human hacker could ever be. Because honestly, that is exactly what we're up against now. A totally new breed of attacker. These are not the threats we're used to. They're playing a whole different game, and our old playbooks just aren't going to cut it. And look, this isn't just some theory. There was a story from the AI company Anthropic that showed us just how terrifyingly fast these AI-powered attacks can get. I mean, we are talking about going from a tiny little probe to a massive, all-out assault in literally moments. That's a speed and a scale that human security teams they just can't keep up with. So, what does this hostile behavior actually look like in the wild? Well, it can be a lot of different things. An attacker's AI might just start throwing all sorts of weird, confusing data at your system to see what breaks. Or, it could methodically probe every single corner of your digital defenses, looking for one tiny overlooked crack. It might even be smart enough to mess with your system's internal logic, abusing a workflow in a way no one ever expected. Or it could just be a brute force automated assault, hammering your system 24/7, relentlessly.
All of this, it kind of leads to the big, pretty uncomfortable question we've all got to ask ourselves. Are our systems actually ready for this?
No, really, think about it for a second. Are your current security protocols, your apps, your APIs, your monitoring tools, are they really built to handle an attack that thinks differently, adapts on the fly, and literally never needs a coffee break? It's a huge challenge to how we've always thought about security. And here's the thing, waiting around to react is basically a losing strategy now. The new game is all about getting ahead of the attacks, not just cleaning up after them. The goal has to be to harden your defenses before these AI-powered threats even show up at your door. So, how do we do that? How do we build that proactive defense? The answer is actually pretty cool. You have to fight fire with fire, or, in this case, fight AI with AI, through simulation. And that brings us to this idea of simulation-based testing. The best way to think about it is like a flight simulator, but for your cybersecurity. It's this safe, totally controlled environment where you can unleash these hostile AI behaviors against your own systems. This way you find the holes and you fix them long before a real bad guy gets the chance. Now, this isn't just some abstract idea. It's something you can actually do with new tools. For example, platforms like ZAPTEST are built specifically for this. They let companies safely run these advanced, AI-driven hostile simulations against their own live systems. Okay, that sounds great in theory, but how does it actually work? What's the real method behind this new way of checking your security? Let's break it down. So, the old way of doing security testing was just a ton of work. It meant developers had to write mountains and mountains of code, these super specific scripts for every single thing they could think of. The new way uses something called task-agnostic automation. And this is a really big shift. Instead of telling the system how to do every little step, you just tell it what the goal is. The AI figures out the rest. And that makes the whole process pretty straightforward. Step 1, you use the tool to simulate all those hostile AI behaviors we talked about earlier. Step 2, and this part is absolutely critical, you test it across your entire system, from the back-end APIs to the front-end user interface, because a weakness can hide literally anywhere. And then step 3, you take what you've learned and you fortify your systems, all inside a safe, repeatable process. So what makes all this possible? Well, it comes down to a few key things. We've already mentioned task-agnostic automation. That's where you just give the AI a goal. It also involves that combined testing of the UI and the API together. And finally, it uses these AI co-pilot workflows. You can think of it like having an AI partner helping your team dream up even more creative and complex attack scenarios to test against. This quote really just says it all perfectly. The goal is to hammer your systems, test them like crazy. But the most important words there are safely and repeatedly. This isn't just a one-time audit. It's about constantly making your defenses stronger and, crucially, doing it without burying your team in a mountain of scripts.
So let's pull all of this together. Why is this conversation so incredibly important? Why does all of this matter right now, more than ever?
The takeaway is actually pretty simple, but it's really profound. The threats out there are evolving at a crazy pace because they're being supercharged by AI. So if your defenses are static, if they're based on last year's playbook, you're already behind. Your security has to evolve just as fast as the threats do. Period.
And that really just leaves us with one final question for every single person in a leadership or a tech role out there. We know for a fact that your attackers are using AI. The only question left is, are you?